Previously, on Talks from Freaking Narnia.
Yes! Ava's destroy! Smash! I have so many feelings. Giant naked Ray is back! Ah! My feels! Ships as missiles. Excuse me, I might cry. Fuck! What are you doing to me? Oh my god. Wow. Okay. Holy shit, my brain is exploding. What the fuck? Oh my god. Sad story. It's my emotions. Okay.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
Just a brief mention of Toji because I love him. Toji is so Toji. 14 years have passed and he hasn't changed a bit, and well, I mean, you know, maybe he's got like a little less bravado, I guess, but hey, it works for him. I love him. I adore Toji. He was amazing. Now let me expand on Kensuke because Kensuke is boss. I love him. He's always been one of my favorites characters in Evangelion. Like it was Asuka, then probably Shinji, then Kensuke. They may vary sometimes. Like sometimes I like Kensuke more than Shinji, blah blah blah. But like he's always been one of the top characters for me, and it annoys me how little love he gets from the fandom because he's awesome. People just see him like as a nerd, you know, like, oh, whatever, he's one of Shinji's like little friends that don't really matter. And at least Toji and Hikari had the will there or one day kind of thing going on. Kensuke didn't have that, so he usually gets ignored by the fandom, but I really love him, and I have always wanted to see him taking leadership like this. Like this Kensuke that we saw in this movie is literally the Kensuke I have always wanted to see, and I am so happy. Like, you guys, he's basically the new Kaji. Basically, that's it. I said what I said, and I will touch more upon this later, but like I love just how he's become a man and he's taken charge. Like he's going to use what he knows, which is survivalist stuff, like mechanics, military stuff. He's gonna take that and he's gonna use it to freaking save people and help people live. And it's just, he seems so self-assured. He seems so okay with his life, so stable, so sure of what he wants his life to be and what he wants to do and what makes him happy. And I just adore him. I just adore him. I just love him so much. Also, there's a brief moment in like a montage of Village 3 happenings where someone is teaching a bunch of kids in what looks like a school, and like they have glasses and light brown hair and sandy brown hair, and I was like, oh my god, was that Kensuke actually teaching kids? Because if so, absolute icon. As like that, one thing that could make him even better would be for him to like be a professor. Like that's all I need. Basically, Indiana Jones, that's all. Fucking MacGyver. Anyway, I also was glad to see that he still had his camera. That was adorable. I love him. He hasn't changed. It's great. I love him so much. Jesus Christ, I love him so much. Now, because I have to, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Gendo and company. So basically in this movie, as with every other Evangelion property ever, everything, every word Gendo and Fuyutsuki said in this movie just went in one ear and out the other. So what else is new? Nothing. And then Gendo can just fly? Okay. I don't know where that came from, but sure, whatever. I didn't necessarily care to see Gendo's past. Like when the flashbacks started during instrumentality, I was like, but why? I don't want you to try and make him good now, because that's a thing for me. It's a pet peeve of mine. It's like, I like my villains evil. You can tell me why they're evil, but don't try to use that as an excuse. Like, don't make it a sob story, okay? I don't want to feel sorry for my villains. I don't want to think, oh, maybe if things had been different, they could have been good. No, I don't like it. So when they started doing the flashback thing with Gendo, I was like, don't make him good. Don't do this. But then as it went on, I found it kind of interesting, because it didn't seem like an excuse. Like, he was still pretty weird. You know what I mean? Like, he was a loner. Obviously, he was super codependent on Yui. So, like, yeah, he wasn't a healthy dude, even back then. It wasn't a thing like, oh, his circumstances, oh no, woe is me. It wasn't that. It was just an explanation, and I liked it. And I liked how much he was like Shinji, because that's how you can see, like, oh, okay, if their circumstances had been a little bit different, or if they had reacted a little bit different to the adversity that they faced, they might have been good. And with Gendo, it's one of those things, but it's not like, oh, you know, we should forgive Gendo for reacting that way. But it was more like, no, Gendo, why did you not react like Shinji? Shinji is good. He had a lot of the same problems you had. He had very similar coping mechanisms than you had. And yes, he's an infinitely better person than you are. Why did you not react that way? Because you're a piece of shit. Basically, it's confirming that Gendo is a piece of shit. And I liked it, even though it was interesting to see. I still hate his fucking guts. That's not gonna change. But it was interesting to see what's in his brain and why he was doing this. And then there's that one moment where he's remembering Shinji. Like, leaving Shinji. Leaving him behind after Yui died. And he's like, I thought a child was a punishment. And I was like, yeah, fuck you. I don't forgive you. Bye-bye. I will never like Gendo. I'm sorry. He's the worst scum of the earth. That's it. Even though he might have interesting, like, motivations, and it's like a little bit like with serial killers. Like, you want to understand why they think the way they do, but not because you want to find a way to forgive them or to make them relatable. It's just interesting, right? It's interesting to see how evil brews in the brain of someone. I'm that way with Gendo. So I like the backstory in the sense that it explains a lot of things about him, but no, I don't forgive him. I will always hate him. He will always have the title of worst father ever. That's not a thing that's gonna change, and I'm glad this movie didn't change that. Didn't even attempt to change that in my mind. Just a few notes about minor characters. The whole "this is why I hate young men." Yes, Maya, you're a lesbian, we know. I guess that is as close as they could get to her actually having a relationship with Ritsuko. At least. I mean, I don't know that her and Ritsuko were actually together. I actually don't think their relationship is particularly healthy, but I hope she was getting some. That's what I'm saying. Hikari's dad was kind of random. Like, I mean, he was fine, but also, like, did they just need an old person there to berate Shinji, or like, what was it? On the other hand, the ladies who worked with Rei, they were the best. I love them all. I wish I had their names. I don't know their names, but I love them. You know, one of the moments where I started freaking out a little was when I saw Kaji on the label of the hazmat suit of that one person, and of course it turned out that it wasn't Kaji, but like, I was so freaking happy to see Kaji Misato. So like, can someone just die of happiness? Because like, I could burst right here. I love him. I love the idea of him. I love the presentation of him, the execution of him. I love Ryoji Jr. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. Also, he looks older than 14 and older than Shinji. But, you know, I'm not entirely surprised that he looks like a man already, because he's Kaji's kid, and that smirk, man, that smirk does things to you. So I'm not surprised that he looks older than Shinji. But, you know, he's a kid, he still has a way to go, so I'm happy that he's around and that he made it through, I guess. Also, unsurprised that Kaji freaking saved the world. I mean, of course he goddamn would. He's freaking Special Agent Kaji Roji of Nerve City, Ville. I don't know. Somewhere he's a freaking triple agent. What can I do? I loved it. I love that it was him. Even if it means that he died, at least his death was like for something. Unlike in the show. I mean, don't get me wrong, his death in the show, iconic, always going to be, but like it was so vague, and we had no idea if he even could like come back in instrumentality. Like, look at any fanfic post instrumentality, post end of Evangelion fanfic, and you're like, sometimes Kaji comes back, sometimes he doesn't. So it's like, yeah, we don't really get a closure. This time we did. Like, he's dead. He's deader than a doorknob. But he went out in a way that made me so proud of him, so I like that. It was stated at one point that Kaji held the preservation of the environment and of other life forms over the preservation of humanity. And honestly, relatable. Like, the latest IPCC report just came out like a week ago, and yeah, humans suck. I'm just saying. Also, this is how you do an environmental message without hitting people over the head with an anvil. Thank you very much. Like, this is subtle enough, but still clear enough that we get it, what that means. Like, protect the freaking earth. Stop thinking about only yourself and your comfort and what you want. Protect the earth. It's important. Near the climax, I was expecting Kitakami to do something drastic. Fair. They telegraphed it a long time. I wasn't expecting Sakura. I thought she had gotten her anger out when she slapped Shinji. I thought that was it. I wasn't expecting her to actually grab a gun and shoot at him. Especially since we had just heard, right before that scene, we had just heard Toji saying that he trusts Misato and Ville with his life and his family's life. So like, I thought that was a funny parallel. Maybe you should have written her an explanation of everything that was happening and how much you like Shinji and how much you trust Shinji, rather than just sending her a photo, dude. Like, I don't know, might have worked out better. And also at the end, like, oh hey, you actually did something. I've been waiting for this to happen for like 20 plus years, I guess. It's just, I've always been iffy about Yui because, like, in the anime, in the show, and End of Evangelion consequently, she comes across as, oh, she planned this whole thing. You know, she comes across as almost like a second Gendo, but with her own agenda, and I kind of hate that. She's not much better in this because I still think she was intending for Shinji to end up being the center of instrumentality, I guess. But like, at least she kicked him out this time. She didn't just put the weight of the entire world on his shoulders, and that was good. That's good. You did something. Okay, not the best mother ever, but bare minimum, that's good. And you know, don't ask me what she did. I don't quite understand it yet. Like I said, I have a long way to go before I actually understand this movie. It seems to me like she's saving Shinji, like she's kicking him out of instrumentality in some way, or like avoiding him being destroyed, because he had to stab himself with a spear, right, in order to eliminate all of Eva. And I'm guessing if he did that, he would disappear as well, or he would end up alone somehow. So she basically gave him the push he needed, like pushed him away, and just took that on herself, that job on herself, so that her son could have some measure of happiness. And I like that. I mean, I'm not entirely sure that's what happened, but that's how it came across to me on first and second watch, so we'll see. Now let's talk a little bit about relationships, and in this section I'm just talking about all relationships, so romantic, friendship, familial, anything, so relationships in general. First off, I have to start with how cute is Tsubame. I love her. She's adorable. And I'm just a few weeks ago when I was doing the reaction to the trailers, the spoilery ones, we saw Tsubame, and I knew that was Hikari, right? She had a baby, so we saw Tsubame, and the baby had lighter hair than Hikari did, and I kind of freaked out a little bit because I was like, holy shit, don't tell me she's married to Kensuke, because that would suck. I mean, it wouldn't suck. Kensuke's fine, I love him, but like, we all ship Hikari and Toji, right? Like, that's the one ship. That's the one ship that most people actually like in Evangelion, like, can agree on in Evangelion. So I thought it would be like the worst thing if Kara suddenly decided, you know what, no, we're not gonna have them get together, we're gonna have her get together with someone else. But of course, I'm so glad that the whole, oh, the baby's hair is lighter thing was just me being dumb and failing at anime genetics. To be fair, that's usually how it works. The kids usually just have their parents coloring and that's it, and there is no genetic nuance anywhere to be had. So can you blame me for actually jumping to that wrong conclusion? But I'm glad it was the wrong conclusion, because Tsubame is adorable, and I love that Toji and Hikari actually got together, and I'm happy. Oh my god, I'm gonna make myself cry again, what the fuck. I love it. Also, Kenken! Yes! Asuka and Kensuke being pals. Everything I never knew I needed. I love it. I love them. And you know what? It's one of those things, like I mentioned earlier, that Kensuke basically becomes the new Kaji, and I love that. Because don't get me wrong, I love Kaji, but I love Kaji, but he was a player. And he was a triple agent, and he was a bit reckless. So like I love him. He's great, but also he's not the greatest role model for anyone necessarily. We didn't in the show, Asuka and Kaji had kind of a paternal relationship. I mean, obviously she had a crush on him, and it was the source of a lot of her angst in the series. But he saw her a little bit like a daughter, right? Like he was her guardian, so he wasn't into her like that at all, really. And in Rebuild, we hadn't seen any of that, because it didn't even really seem like Asuka and Kaji knew each other. I'm assuming they did, because Euro branch, but whatever. But like they weren't close, you know. Asuka went to live with Misato straight away. I don't think they interacted all that much, like maybe at the aquarium at some point, but like it was just like normal kid interacting with random adult thing. So yeah, we didn't have that, and I was kind of missing something like that, because my thing with Eva is of course the kids. I adore the children, all of them, not just the pilots, but like all the kids, including Hikari and Toji and Kensuke. They're my favorites. And one of the things I love is that even though their parents are fucking crappy, like most of them, at least those of them that actually have parents, they still had like adult role models who might not be the best role models in the world, because hey, Misato isn't that great either, but like they had role models who cared about them. Like they knew what it was, or had some inkling of what it was to have an adult care for them, even if it didn't usually end up right. 'Cause like even Shinji and Misato had like weird things going on, and Asuka and Kaji had the crush thing happening, and you know, it was all very Oedipal, and I understand what they were trying to do in this series, and I appreciate it, but also kind of squicks me a little bit. 2021, man. And it kind of saddened me a little bit that we hadn't seen much of that in Rebuild outside of Misato and Shinji. So the kids, like all of them except Shinji, sort of felt like they were on their own in a way. And I think this movie did a lot to fix that for me. Because again, you get Kensuke, Kenken, and Asuka, who had that sort of same relationship that she had with Kaji in the show, but without the crush thing. at all. Like, there was none of that whatsoever. And I love that, because it makes me feel a lot better about it. But you could see that he cared about her. And, you know, Asuka she's puts up her walls and whatever, so she wouldn't admit that she cared about him or about the people of Village 3, but you could see that she did, right? Like, she protected them. That was her job. and with them, she found a purpose outside of Eva, in a sense. So I was very glad to see that. And also, even Rei with Hikari a little bit in this movie. So I quite enjoyed that, and I'm glad the kids, some of them at least our main characters, have that adult role model that I've always wanted each of them to have. And they're all different role models. Like, it's not all Misato and Kaji. You know, even Rei gets in on it. So yeah, that aspect of it I really, really liked. And just the friendship between Asuka and Kensuke, for me, was like everything. Speaking of adults though, that hug near the climax between Misato and Shinji. My emotions! Why? Like, I love that so much. I needed to see them hug so badly. God. And then, still speaking of Misato, you know, when she is telling Ritsuko to, like, evacuate, right, and to just leave her back because she's going to go down with the ship, so to speak. And I mean that in a literal way, not in a fandom way. Like, she's going down with her aircraft. She tells Ritsuko, look after the lives that survived this, all the children left behind. And I'm like, the child! You know, she means her son. And like, tears. Metaphorical tears, like inside my head, but like tears. You know what I mean? Like, of course she means her son. She's telling Ritsuko to take care of her son because she's going to sacrifice herself to save the fucking world, just like Kaji did. Oh god, so many feelings. About Mari and Asuka, one of my favorite things about 3.0 was that they ended up being like great friends, you know, because they've been hanging out for 14 years without Shinji around, so of course they're friends now. And we got so much more of that in this movie, and I love that Mari is like, totally is like the overly clingy, overly affectionate friend, you know, like hugging and clinging on to you and whatever, and Asuka's just like, whatever. You know, like, she's used to it. I love it. I don't ship them necessarily, but I can only guess that, like, I like them as friends, personally, but I can only guess that the ship is finally sailing. I mean, what am I saying? It's been totally sailing for years. This is the thing. Anyway, also, Mari cutting Asuka's hair. I love that scene. It's just, it seems like such a, like, you wouldn't let a complete stranger that you're not paying cut your hair. That's not a thing. It's a very intimate setting. And I mean intimate, not necessarily in the romantic sense, but like in the trust sense. Like, you're letting someone you trust cut your hair. It's a very personal thing. So I like that they included that. And also, I love how hurt Mari was when Asuka died. It was so clear, and I love their friendship so much. I love them. As far as Mari and Shinji goes, which I guess we're taking this to be like the canon couple now. I don't know. I will ship what I ship. That's not gonna change, I guess. But whatever. I guess Anno was totally pushing for it. I mean, he likes Mari, so I guess I saw that coming. Anyway, about the two of them, I laughed so hard at the fact that Mari finally introduced herself to Shinji after like 3 movies. Oh god, it's so funny. And the fact that she sniffed him again, because of course it's Mari. She's gonna be weird no matter what. It was just funny. I guess they're the canon couple now or something, whatever. I mean, if you want to take holding hands as canon, whatever. It was vague enough that anything in Evangelion is possible. But I don't ship them necessarily. I mean, sure, they're fine, I don't mind, but I don't actively ship them. I have my ships, and one of those ships, and you know, go ahead, feel free to dislike whenever you want, but if it happens to be right at this exact moment, Yeah, I'm used to that. I ship Shinji and Asuka. I always have since the series. I'm not saying they should get together exactly the way they are at the end of the series or at the end of Evangelion or even at the end of Rebuild. They have issues, okay? And they have issues they have to deal with separately before they can be together. That's totally fine. I don't mind. Like, I understand why people think they're toxic. Yeah, there's a lot of toxicity in there. I think it can be overcome. So I've always shipped them. And I quite liked their interaction in this movie, because in the first movie, in 2.0, there was sort of the development of the crush, and it was a little bit better because Asuka wasn't as aggressive as she was in the show. Like, in the show, she was very contemptuous against him. In the movie, she was a little bit softer, I guess, more than Sun in a sense. But then in 3.0, she just freaking hated his guts the entire time. So it's like, I guess my ship's not going anywhere anymore. But I like what they did with them in this movie. First of all, does anyone else find it hilarious that they ended up living together again? I genuinely thought that Shinji was just going to stay with Toji and Hikari, but no, Kensuke took him. And he ended up living with Asuka again, so we just can't avoid that, can we? They just have to end up living together anyway. And they have that one scene where they have sort of a conversation, like she goes, you know, when Mari introduces herself and she's still clinging onto Shinji, and Asuka comes in and they kind of talk, and she tells him that she had a crush on him and whatever. I honestly, I really enjoyed it. Felt very mature, which I appreciate, which means to me that they're getting over their shit, you know, individually, and then having a conversation about how they've gotten over their shit and maybe, you know, be a bit more civil towards each other, which I like. I quite enjoyed how they handled their relationship in this movie, how it evolved, because again, in 3.0, Asuka was just pissed at him the entire time. And in this one, you can see that she's beginning to understand him a little bit, and to forgive him a little bit, and forgive herself for what she felt about him a little bit. And, you know, they may not have ended up together like I was hoping, darn it, but I feel like they came to a place where there was at least some kind of peace and a little bit of understanding between them. Like they both matured a lot, and that means a lot to me, you know, given how things ended up between them the first time around. Like, even if you assume that End of Evangelion is a somewhat happy-ish ending, like they're both still alive and they could presumably still have like develop their relationship afterwards. It literally ends with him choking her and she's saying that she's disgusted. Like, it's not the best. It's not the, like, optically not the best thing. And I feel like the way things ended here with the two of them were better, and it might be a bit of a more final ending, and I will talk about that later on. But they may not have like a lot of a chance of developing their relationship afterwards, unlike in End of Eva. But it felt earned. It felt like a good ending for the two of them. Like, if you're going to end it here with no possibility of anything after that, I want this point to be a good ending, right? And I feel like it was. I feel like things between them were good by the time the movie ended, which is literally all I wanted. Also, I just want to point out, because I have to, this is the second time, with the first one being in End of Evangelion, this is the second time that Shinji has chosen to pluck Asuka, specifically and only her, out of instrumentality so that she can go back to the real world. Now, what's changing here is where Shinji ends up. In End of Eva, he came back himself, and he didn't want to be lonely, so he brought her back with him, basically. In this one, he's sacrificing himself and saving her. And goddamn, they might not have ended up together, but this makes me happy regardless, because he wants her to live. He always wants her to live. Can I cry now? Now, second to last thing, I want to just mention a few of my favorite or funniest moments. There is a blink and you'll miss it scene at the beginning when they're in Paris, when someone tries to plug in what looks like a USB cable and it won't go in, so they have to flip it around. And I'm just sitting here like, thanks, Anno, for that relatable moment. I appreciate it. We've all been there. Then there was also the quote of the movie. Excusez-moi, Eiffel. Like, my actually using the Eiffel Tower to kill an angel, like stab an angel with the tip of the Eiffel Tower. Can you get more holy shit than that? Seriously? One of the things I like the most out of the Village 3 section of the movie is that they were all trying to make Shinji feel better about Near Third Impact. Like, Kensuke did it, Toji did it. I don't remember if he ever spoke to Hikari, but like, she would have, I'm sure. Like, they're all trying to make him feel better. Here's Shinji just blaming himself for everything that goes wrong in the fucking world. And his friends, who have struggled for 14 years and have to live in a tiny village surrounded by destruction. They, who know more than ever the damage that Near Third Impact did to the world, and to them personally, because Toji's father died, I believe. Sakura says so. They don't blame him, and they make sure to tell him that they don't blame him, because they know that he's blaming himself. So I really enjoyed that, and, you know, talk about looking for silver linings. You know, Kensuke saying, oh, well, Third Impact might have been bad, but at least Toji and Hikari got together. You know what I mean? And Toji's like, yeah, it kind of sucked, but, at least I have my family out of it. So it's like, silver linings ahoy. The one moment I really liked was the montage of everybody, like, wrapping bandanas around their arms. That bit really got me. And, especially when I understood what it meant, it really meant a lot to me. Especially Hyuga and Oba getting ready and, fist bumping. I really like that now, still in context. And of course, Misato's. Like, had I known when I watched that trailer that she's touching her arm and there's a bandage there, and the bandage represents Kaji. Kaji, I miss you so much. There's a moment before the climax sort of really begins, I guess. Ritsuko tells Misato, we're now ready to storm Nerve HQ. And Misato just says, Roger. Hashtag badass. I love it so much. Quick list, scenes that cracked me up, that shouldn't have cracked me up, and probably mean I'm a terrible person. 1. Asuka force-feeding Shinji is just the camera moments, man. It was so dramatic. It made me laugh. Also, when Rei got tanked, I'm sorry, the tiny cross and the tiny rainbow just did me in. I couldn't help myself. Also, Asuka tasting Shinji, I mean, come on. And then Shinji getting drenched by Marizeva at the end, though, okay, that was probably meant to be a little bit funny. So, I'm not judging myself for that one. But the others, yeah, I probably shouldn't have laughed. What can you do? Whatever the dead Evas are, I still don't know, and I'll talk about that more later, but whatever they are, you gotta love just a scene of Asuka and Mari just going absolutely apeshit on them. And I adore that they had to combine their AT fields to get through. Like, I love that. It was so fucking shonen, man. And like the entire time I was like, this is so shonen. Which is hilarious because it was Mari and Asuka. Not that they're particularly girly, I guess, though Mari does like pink a lot. Other scenes I liked. Yes! Ritsuko, shoot the fucker! Shoot him! Also, I love the callback to End of Evangelion. That was great. It never gets old. I cheered. There's this quote. Second impact purified the oceans. Third impact purified the earth. The fourth shall purify the souls. Okay, I don't fucking know what that means, but I kinda dig it. And there's also another one of his, all the horsemen have assembled now, which is just, it makes you sound like freaking Satan, so, but it's cool, and why must that bastard be so fucking quotable? It's annoying, seriously. I like the go with that thingy, the part where Shinji sort of relives his memories. I guess. It kind of reminds me of the alternate reality of the series' ending a little bit, you know, in episode 26. So, yeah, I like that. And the Neon Genesis scene, whew, holy shit, just... I don't know what my emotions are doing. That scene was everything. That scene was the entire Rebuild series right there. I'm not crying, I'm just leaking LCL. And now, the climax of this video, of course, things I still don't understand. If you understand any of these better than I do, feel free to explain in the comments. It's all welcome. Please don't tell me I'm dumb. I already know this. It takes me a while, okay? Please be nice. Okay, so upon second viewing, I noticed, I didn't notice this the first time around, of course, but upon second viewing, I noticed that in the first scene, in the Paris scene, Mari says, "I'll come get you, Wanko-kun," meaning Shinji. I had wondered when I saw the trailer what that meant, and why she was just speaking to Shinji alone and not to Asuka. You know what I mean? Because I thought it meant that she was going to pick him up after the 3.0 ending. So I was like, why did she not mention Asuka? That's weird. Now I'm seeing it through different eyes. Now that I know where their stories go, I'm seeing it through different eyes. And I'm wondering, does that mean that this scene takes place when Shinji's in instrumentality and waiting for her? Is that even possible? Because Ritsuko does mention in the first scene that it's been 16 years. But by the end of 3.0, I don't think it had been 16 years, I think it had been 14. So does that mean that Shinji spent those 2 extra years in instrumentality? But then if he did, how is Misato still around? Like Misato, they were in there. They were in NERV headquarters, right? So like they wouldn't have gone out only to come back in. Or, you know, I don't know. Is this one of those Kaoru things where Mari just apparently knows the future, so she uses that line just to mess with our heads? I don't know, why do you do this to me? I don't understand. Also, I still don't know what the fuck atoms are. Like, okay, first angel, I guess. Why is there more than one? Why is there not just atom? I don't know. Also, I don't know how Unit 13 is activating without a pilot. Like, how even? So the seed thingies, you know, Misato sends the seed thingies out, the ones that look like dandelions. She sends them out to float in space, right? Were they basically just intended to bring life back in case of a fourth impact? Was that just the entire point? I guess that's what Kaji wanted, right? I'm not sure. Also, things I still don't understand after 2 fucking movies. How are Gendo and Fuyutsuki making all these things? They are literally just 2 people. I highly doubt that they're like, you know, soldering Evas together or something. How? So the dead things, the white things that look like Evas, are they Evas? How? If they are, how? Again, how are Gendo and Fuyutsuki making all these things? I never understood that. Or why there were so freaking many of them. Like, were they supposed to like represent people who died in the impacts? Were they lost souls of some kind? Asuka called them mock Evas, but I'm not sure what that means. Are they the same thing as Kaoru's failures of infinity? I'm so confused. Also, when Asuka is trying to stab Unit 13 through, she says, "It's not a single entry plug system." Okay, one, I thought you already knew that. You saw it in the previous movie, right? And 2, why does that matter? I'm so confused. And again, I still don't understand why Unit 13 just walks around on its own without a pilot. Because I'm pretty sure Shinji's not piloting it, right? And Kaoru's dead. His soul might be in there, but not his body. And you know, when the Up for Type Mark 9 pops up later on to try to eat the Wanda, Ritsuko says they made a pilot. Like, is that what it is? Are they, whatever it is that they made, some kind of dummy plug, is that what's piloting Unit 13 as well? It seems that way, but they never actually said it, so I don't know. Shit Gendo says that I will never understand. 1. Artificial recreation of Lilith. From what? From Unit 13? From Asuka? From the Ninth Angel? It seems like it was Asuka because Gendo said that the Shikinami type was made for that or whatever. But then, does that mean she was part angel too? Like Rei? Like, if you can start an impact with Rei, and you can also start an impact with Asuka, does that mean that she's part angel as well? I don't know. 2. Lenses created from the Black Moon. Okay, but are they also Cassius and Longinus, or are they just random lenses? Where did the Cassius and Longinus spears come from? Were they just the ones that were embedded in Unit 13? I think I blinked and missed something. I don't know. So, as far as I understand, Gendo is basically taking over instrumentality by going inside Unit 13. Like, he literally flies into its mouth. Like, is that right? But then Shinji enters the mix and boots him out, so he no longer has control, right? But I don't understand. Shinji tells Misato he's going to pilot Unit 1. But wasn't Unit 1 powering the Wunda? And he didn't go into the anti-universe with Unit 1. Mari took him there. So he didn't have Unit 1 when he went in. So how the fuck did he even get Unit 1 in there? Did he just like call her? Because, you know, when he called for Rei, is that it? Like, did Unit 1 just appear? How the fuck does this even work? I'm so confused. Third thing Gendo says that makes no fucking sense. Additional impact? Now you're just making shit up. Honestly, I mean, it turns out the Wunder can just make a new spear because reasons, and don't even get me started on the whole Black Lilith / Evangelion imaginary. Like, what the fuck are you even doing at this point? Is this like some kind of Aesop where, you know, we're supposed to learn that humanity is extraordinary because it has imagination or something? Because it sounds like something you'd hear at Disneyland. I'm just saying. Mari Iscariot? I mean, it sounds properly dramatic, I guess, but is that like confirmation that she's been some kind of double agent this entire time of something? I'm so confused. There's one thing Gendo says that I think I understand, but I'm not entirely sure yet. At the point where he is entering instrumentality, and Shinji basically asks him what the fuck he's doing, Gendo says, "I chose a world that you refused." And the first time I watched it, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, for sure. Shinji doesn't want to be in the world, I guess, or didn't want to be in the world, so Gendo's going to do this. But, like, I chose a world that you refused, past tense? Like, which time? Like, is this another reboot theory thing? I'm not sure. Tell me what you guys think. Also, Mari was around when Gendo was younger, I guess, so what is she? Anno, explain, please. You won't. I'll read up on it eventually and understand it, but like, what? I think the entire instrumentality sequence, like, no, from the moment Asuka took out the container she had in her eye for the angel and like became an angel, from that moment on, I was just saying, what every 5 seconds. And one of those was Mari just randomly being in the past, whatever, I don't know. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened with Kaoru. I'm pretty sure they confirmed the reboot theory. Like, Kaoru did say that he was repeating the same cycle over and over and over, and it was pretty much confirmed, I think. But did the cycle end now? Because Kaji mentioned retirement at some point, so does that mean that this iteration of the cycle is the last? We do see him at the end, right? In the train station with Rei. So I think that's what that might mean, but as with everything in this damn series, it's all very vague, so I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Again, I still don't understand the seeds thing, because the ones they released first, those are still in space. We see them at the end, like floating in space. But then there's the other thingies that came out of the Wunder and fell to Earth, and we see a shot of like the penguins hanging out with the column thingies. Are those seeds as well? Like, I don't know. Were they supposed to fall to Earth as well? Are they like reseeding the Earth after 4th impact? Is that what it is? I'm so confused. And now finally, after recording for like 2 hours, more or less, like an hour and a half or something, we have reached my conclusions. So, as far as the ending goes, since we see Rei and Kaoru, I am assuming they're either, like the pilots, they're either all dead, and this is Shinji's version of heaven, or he has somehow created an alternate reality, a la episode 26, where there are no Evas, and they can grow up like normal kids. And so we see them older, basically. But Asuka is still back in the good old crapsack world because Shinji kicked her out of instrumentality, basically. Kicked her back to the world. Except now Gendo is dead and Nerve is gone, so they can presumably go on living without the threat of the world exploding every 5 minutes. Either way, I really love this ending, and I expect to see a lot of fanfiction in the future where Asuka somehow joins them. Please, fandom, do not let me down or I'll have to fucking do it myself. But like, I would love to see that, because I get why she was left behind. I understand it, and I think it's good for her character development, but also like I want her to be happy with the other kids, and I want to see her grown up, and I'm not sure that's just gonna get that in the real world. So we'll see. I don't know. Fandom, I dare you. I double dog dare you. Please write this. I will be reading eventually. And let's just say I'm probably wrong about all of this. Like I said, it took me 10 freaking full years to understand End of Evangelion, and there are plenty of things I still don't understand about it. So I don't hold a lot of hope of like fully understanding this version either, but I'll be reading up explainers and theories on the ending soon, I'm sure. I wanted to wait until after I did my review to do that, because I don't want any of it like contaminating my initial reaction to the movie. Either way, I loved how this all ended. I think this is the Shinji I always wanted to see, and I hope it's the Shinji that most of the fandom always wanted to see. And everybody else was pretty damn perfect too. Like this, I felt like this movie was the best of all the characters, and I really, really appreciate that. Hell, I even liked Rei. Rebuild made me love Kaoru. Like, what the fuck? How do you do that, Anno? Like, seriously. I won't be ranking this movie with any of the others until I feel like it's settled within me. Like, it might take a little while for it to settle in me. But right now, I would say this could legitimately become my favorite out of the 4 movies, I think. Just, again, because I feel like we saw all the characters at their best. And that is what I've always wanted to see from Evangelion. It's not just these characters suffering over and over and over and over again, but getting better. That's what I wanted to see. And I have it in this movie, so yeah, I'm good. I liked it. I really, really liked it. As for the future, Anno has said he did like a New York Times interview, which I think is pretty huge. You know, when in the world is anime so important as to make the New York Times? But yeah. So Anno had an interview in the New York Times where he said that he probably won't touch Eva again. Like, he thinks the story is complete. Or if he does, it at least won't be for a long while. But you know, I'm okay with that. I do think I'm satisfied with this as an ending. And I think if he never does anything Eva again, I'm fine with it. But also, if he ever decides to come back to these characters, I'm 100% up for like alternate universe sometimes in the future. Like, even if they do like a sappy high school alternate universe, like, I'm down. Because you know, all the like side story mangas, like spin-off mangas and whatever, these were like super sappy, like shoujo high school romance AUs. I like them. Give me anything. Okay, anything with these characters I will take. I will jump at the chance to see my children happy in any way that I can. And this movie did that for me, and for that I love it. And whatever Anno decides, I hope it involves, if he comes back to these characters, I hope it involves them being happy in some way, because that's my favorite part of Eva. And yeah, I have been talking for a long time now. My voice is going out, so that's it for me today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you like my stuff, please subscribe to my channel. I'm always happy to see people liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. It really does help me a lot. You know, YouTube algorithms and the like. In the meantime, you can find me on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at girlsareweird with underscores between the words, and on Tumblr at girlsareweird with hyphens between the words. You can find a Facebook page for this blog at facebook.com/FreakingNarnia, and as usual, be sure to visit my main webpage at FreakingNarnia.com/blog. That's VLOG. All my videos are up there in case you missed any. Sorry, it's becoming night now. I mean, it's still daytime, but it's getting darker. Anyway, all my videos are up there in case you missed any. Be sure to look it up, browse around, it's all in there. Also remember that I have a Redbubble store where I make art based on my favorite quotes from my favorite fandoms, and you can use that art to print on different kinds of merchandise, such as t-shirts, coffee cups, computer covers, all sorts of stuff in there for you to check out. So be sure to visit and maybe purchase something if you're in the mood. It really does help me a lot. Also remember, if you'd like to have these episodes of Talks from Freaking Narnia in... Ooh, sun came out. Yay! If you'd like to have these episodes of Talks from Freaking Narnia in podcast form, that is audio only rather than video, if that's more your jam, then what you want to do is subscribe to my Patreon. For a very small sum of money each month, you will have access to all my episodes in podcast form on the exact same day they go up on YouTube. On top of that, if you go on a higher tier, for example, you can get access to different kinds of extra videos that I make intermittently in between YouTube uploads that are exclusive to my Patreon. Or if you want to make a one-time donation and just watch one video, also you can donate to my Ko-fi page. All the links are down in the description, and just make sure when you make your donation you leave a note in there somewhere telling me which extra video you want to see, and then I'll get back to you as soon as possible with some kind of access link for it. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff. I did a book review just last week for a book called Lore by Alexandra Bracken, if that's your thing. I don't talk about books enough in the main channel, so if that's more your thing, Patreon might be the way to go. And yeah, that's about it for me today. I will see you guys next time, hopefully after I've recovered from all these feelings, with another video from all the way in freaking Narnia. Goodbye, all Evangelions. Gendo and Fuyutsuke. Look after the lives that survived this. All the children. That's totally fine. I don't get it. Dang it, my lamp went out. Anyway, wrapping bandanas around their eyes. That around scenes that crack me up that shouldn't have cracked me.